Welcome to Creep Files, where we bring you strange and mysterious stories from around the world. This is Cursed Spots, our series about dark stories from real places you can actually visit. The location can be found in the description under the video. Tonight's tale takes us to Hong Kong, where a beautiful waterfall hides a dark secret. If you enjoy this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's start. Hong Kong sits on southern China's coast and is known for its tall buildings and busy streets. But away from all that noise, there's a hidden spot that locals talk about in whispers. High up in the green hills sits the Bride's Pool, a place as pretty as it is mysterious. Water tumbles down rocks into a clear green pool with a light mist hanging in the air. On a sunny afternoon, a young couple are enjoying the cool water. They're laughing and splashing each other like high school kids. The girl swims over to her boyfriend and gives him a kiss, her hands on his shoulders. That's when the young man stops smiling. Out of the corner of his eye, he spots something red by the water's edge. He blinks, and it's gone, just ripples on the water. "What's wrong?" she asks, noticing his face. "Nothing," he says, but his eyes keep searching the pool's edge. "Just thought I saw something." The girl shivers despite the warm air. "It's getting late anyway," she says, climbing out. She wraps her towel around her shoulders and squeezes water from her hair. "I am staying," he shouts like a little boy, throwing his arms up. He dives into the water with a big splash and swims toward the deeper part of the pool. Under the water, everything feels peaceful. He closes his eyes, enjoying the quiet. Then he hears something strange, like distant drums and bells, the kind used in old wedding ceremonies. His eyes snap open. That red flash from earlier seems to be calling to him from the depths. Taking another deep breath, he pushes himself down, swimming deeper than before. Under the water, the sunlight makes dancing patterns on the stones below. Then he sees it, a flowing red dress just floating there in the deep. His heart pounds. He reaches out. Something cold wraps around his ankle. He kicks hard, trying to break free. Up above, the girl calls out, "This isn't funny anymore. Come up." He struggled, his lungs starting to burn. Through the rippling water, he can see her leaning over, her face getting blurry as his air runs out. The grip on his ankle gets tighter. His world slowly fades to black. The Bride's Pool is one of the most notorious haunted places in Hong Kong. Many tragedies happened over the years. Many believe that these aren't just random bad luck. There's an old story behind it all, a tale from long ago that won't stay buried. Over 100 years ago, in a small village tucked between green hills, lived a young man named Ming. His family owned most of the land in the valley and lived in the grandest house with blue-tiled roofs and stone lions at the gate. As the only son of the village's wealthiest landlord, Ming had never known hardship. He spent his days sleeping late, gambling with friends, and avoiding anything that looked like real work. The villagers all knew him, handsome and charming. But as his father often complained, all talk and no work. One spring morning, Ming was playing an ancient Chinese arrow-throwing game with his friends in the village square. They were throwing arrows into tall wine jars, laughing and betting coins with each toss. Ming, a bit drunk and very loud, was winning as usual. His friends slapped his back and poured him more rice wine. That's when Ming spotted a young woman at the village well. She was struggling to lift a water bucket with one hand while balancing on her wooden crutch. Her face was set in determined lines as she managed to hoist the bucket halfway up. "Watch this." Ming winked at his friends. He walked over, confident as always. "Let me help you with that," he said, reaching for the bucket. The girl, called May, pulled the bucket back. "I can manage myself," she said, eyes flashing. Then she wobbled slightly. Ming was surprised by being refused by a poor village girl with a limp. Ming stood there, stunned, as his friends burst out laughing, watching the girl with the limp walk away. The next day, Ming showed up at the well by himself. May was there too, struggling with a big water bucket. When he tried to help, she quickly turned away from him. The bucket nearly tipped over as she stepped forward. Ming held his hands out, ready to catch it if needed. Their eyes met briefly. After a moment's hesitation, May let out a small sigh and loosened her grip. When the bucket started to slip again, she allowed Ming to take it. They walked back to her house together in silence, though he noticed her glancing his way now and then with quiet curiosity. After that day, Ming started showing up at the well each morning. This surprised everyone. Ming was known throughout the village for sleeping until midday and spending his time gambling or joking with friends. He had never shown interest in anything serious before, but now he was up at dawn, helping May with her chores. Soon it wasn't just about fetching water. They talked about everything: the clouds, the rice fields, what they dreamed about at night. Ming didn't seem to notice her limp, or if he did, he didn't care. Word spread through the village. Ming's family was furious. His mother cornered him one evening. "Son, it's time to move on from this village girl with the bad leg," she said. "Your father and I are arranging a proper marriage for you. Someone suitable for you and for our family." Ming looked down at his hands. "This isn't just for fun. I know what I'm doing." His father didn't even look up from his tea. "We'll see. Not the first time you've said that about something." His parents were sure Ming would get tired of the village girl soon enough. Weeks passed. Ming, who had never worked a day in his life, asked the village carpenter to teach him woodworking. Every evening, Ming worked in a small shed behind his family's house. Neighbors who had never seen the landlord's son lift anything heavier than a teacup now heard his saw and hammer late into the night. One morning, before the sun rose, Ming pushed something large and covered with a red cloth into May's courtyard. When she came out to feed the chickens, she found Ming waiting. "What's this?" she asked. Ming pulled off the cloth. There sat a wooden chair with 2 large wheels on the sides and smaller ones in front. The wood gleamed with polish, and lotus flowers were carved into the armrests. "For you," Ming said, "so I can take you anywhere you want to go." Tears filled May's eyes as she touched the smooth wood. Ming helped her sit in it and showed her how to turn the wheels with her hands. Soon she was rolling down the path, laughing out loud for the first time in years. That evening, Ming's father called him into the family hall. Ming's father said, "Anyone who can make you work this hard must be worth knowing. Bring her for tea next week." After several months, it's a beautiful morning. It's the morning of the wedding. The village burst to life with color and sound. Red banners flapped in the breeze, and huge drums boomed through the streets. Ming's family had spared no expense. After all, their son was finally settling down. A bride must arrive in a proper sedan chair, Ming's mother had insisted. So on the wedding day, the finest red sedan chair in the district waited outside May's house, carried by 4 strong men hired from the next village. May looked beautiful in her red wedding dress, tiny golden flowers stitched into the fabric. Her father helped her into the sedan chair, his eyes wet with tears. "Be careful with my daughter," he told the carriers, who nodded respectfully. Ming stood at the front of the procession in his best silk robes. For once, he wasn't smiling or joking. His face looked serious, proud. As they set off, children threw flower petals in their path. Old women clapped and sang. Ming's cousins carried red umbrella to shield the lucky couple from the sun. The whole village turned out to witness the wedding parade. At the forest's edge, the mood changed. The morning sunshine disappeared behind dark clouds. What had been a light drizzle suddenly turned into heavy rain. Thunder rumbled in the distance. "Maybe we should wait," someone suggested. "No," said the fortune teller. "To delay now would bring bad luck." So they pressed on, but the narrow forest path quickly turned into flowing mud. Water rushed down from the hills, making small streams across their route. One of the sedan chair carriers slipped badly, but managed to stay upright. "Careful," Ming called back without turning. "The path is steep here." The carriers slowed down. Sweat beaded on their foreheads as they balanced the chair on the uneven ground. The sound of falling water grew louder. They were nearing the bride's pool. The lead carrier stepped on a loose stone. It shifted under his weight. "Watch out!" someone shouted. It happened in seconds. The front carrier lost his balance. The sedan chair tilted sharply. May screamed as the chair slid toward the edge of the path. The men tried to steady it, but the weight pulled them forward. With a terrible cracking sound, the chair tumbled over the bank and into the deep pool below. The splash echoed through the trees. Ming spun around. For a moment, he couldn't understand what had happened. Then he saw the ripples on the water. "May!" he screamed, tearing off his heavy outer robe. He plunged into the cold pool. What was normally calm water had become chaos. The heavy rain had raised the water level, creating strong currents that pulled at Ming's clothes. The pool was much deeper than it looked, dark and dangerous now. He dove again and again, his hands searching blindly. The villagers gathered at the water's edge, some holding ropes, others wailing in horror. But the rain kept falling harder, making the banks too slippery for anyone else to help. When Ming finally surfaced, his face was twisted with sadness. His searching hands had found nothing but weeds and stones. Behind him, floating on the water's surface, was a single red bridal shoe, tiny and stitched with golden thread. Ming stood chest deep in the pool, his rich clothes ruined, his hair is all messy. He stared at the single bridal shoe of May, unable to move or speak. The wedding decorations now floated sadly on the water's surface. That night, a heavy silence fell over the village. No one dared approach the pool. The celebration lanterns were taken down, replaced by spirit money and incense. Ming sat alone by the water, his eyes never leaving the dark surface where May had disappeared. The pool had taken everything in an instant. All of Ming's hopes and dreams now lay beneath its dark waters. For 7 days, the village mourned. Paper lanterns floated on the bride's pool, each one carrying a prayer for May's soul. Buddhist monks chanted day and night. Ming returned to his family's home, but nothing was the same. He barely ate or spoke. Each morning at dawn, he would walk to the pool and sit in silence until sunset. His mother worried as his clothes hung loose on his frame. "My son," she said one evening as she placed food before him that would go untouched, You must try to accept what happened, Ming replied with his hopeless eyes. A few days later, 2 kids were out playing after school. They were bored of their usual games, so they decided to go catch some frogs at the pool. Their moms had warned them to be home before dark, but the summer sun was still up, painting the sky orange and pink. They figured they had plenty of time. The pool looked so peaceful that evening. The water was still like a mirror, showing perfect reflections of the trees and clouds above. The boys laughed and joked as they rolled up their pants and waded into the shallow edges, their small nets ready to scoop up any frogs they spotted. "I bet I can catch more than you," the older boy said, splashing a little water at his friend. That's when they heard it, the faint sound of a drum. At first, just a single beat, so soft they weren't sure if they'd really heard it. Then another beat, and another, forming a slow rhythm, like at the start of a wedding parade. "Do you hear that?" the older boy asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The younger boy nodded, his eyes wide. "Where's it coming from?" They turned in circles, looking for where the music was coming from, as it got louder and louder. Now they could hear more instruments joining in, the high notes of pipes, the deep ring of gongs, all the sounds you'd hear at a village wedding. But the strange thing was, the music seemed to be coming from beneath them, from under the water. The younger boy dropped his net, his hands shaking. "I don't see anybody. Who's playing that music?" The water began to ripple, though there was no wind. Small waves lapped against their ankles, even though nobody was moving. The sun had almost disappeared now, leaving the pool in shadow. Between the drum beats, they heard something else, a woman's voice, soft at first, then growing louder. She wasn't singing with the music. She was crying, her sobs rising and falling between the wedding songs. The boys rushed backward, nearly falling as they ran to the shore. They left behind their bucket of frogs, their nets, even one of their shoes. They ran through the forest as fast as their legs could carry them, not looking back once, sure that something was following them all the way home. Tales of ghostly encounters multiplied like wildfire through the village. Soon, nobody would take the paths near the water anymore. Everyone started going the long way around the hills instead. When it got dark, moms would rush to get their kids inside, warning them about the bride who was looking for company because she was so lonely underwater. The pool that used to be a pretty spot became a place everyone was terrified of. No one in the village would even say May's name out loud anymore. They just called her the bride, as if saying her real name might call her up from the water. As weeks passed, Ming couldn't shake his sadness. He grew thinner, barely eating or sleeping. His parents worried but didn't know how to help. Ming spent most days locked in his room, looking at little things that reminded him of May, a drawing she made, a flower she once gave him. Meanwhile, strange stories kept spreading through the village about weird things happening near the pool. People whispered about a woman in red floating above the water, about wedding music playing with no musicians around, about cold spots even on warm days. While most villagers stayed away from the area, these stories gave Ming a tiny spark of hope. What if May was still there somehow? What if he could see her again? One night, Ming sneaked out after his parents were asleep. The moon was just a thin slice in the sky as he made his way to Bride's pool. The forest path felt different at night. Every shadow seemed to move. Every branch crack sounded like footsteps behind him. But Ming kept going. At midnight, he sat by the pool's edge, calling May's name softly. The water stayed still, nothing happened. He waited until his legs went numb and the night air chilled him to the bone, but the pool remained silent and empty. The next night, he tried again. And the night after that. 3 nights in a row, Ming called for May at the pool, but she never appeared. His hope began to fade. On the 4th night, Ming had a new idea. He remembered how happy May had been with the wheelchair he made her, how her face lit up when she first sat in it. Maybe this connection between them might draw her back. So, with great effort, Ming pushed the wheelchair from his family's courtyard all the way to the pool. The wheels got stuck in mud and roots along the way, but he kept going, determined to bring this symbol of their love to the water's edge. The wheelchair looked small and lonely, sitting beside the dark pool. Then he sat down next to it and waited, his heart pounding. The night was quiet at first, just normal forest sounds, crickets chirping, leaves rustling. Then, like someone had blown out a candle, all those sounds suddenly stopped. The water in the center of the pool began to ripple, small circles at first, then larger ones moving outward. Ming stood up, his legs shaking. A soft glow appeared beneath the surface, getting brighter and brighter until the whole pool lit up with a flash of red. Slowly, a figure rose from the water. It was May, wearing her red wedding dress, completely soaked through. Water dripped from her long black hair and ran down her pale face. Her dress stuck to her body, dark and heavy with water. Yet somehow she floated toward him, her feet never touching the ground. Ming wanted to run. Everything in his body told him this wasn't natural, that he should flee. But his love for May kept him frozen in place. When she came closer, he saw her eyes were still the same, full of love for him, though now mixed with a deep sadness. "I've missed you," Ming whispered, his voice trembling. May smiled, but tears fell from her eyes. She told him she'd been watching him from the water, that she didn't want him to see her like this, a ghost trapped between worlds. But she couldn't stay away when she felt him calling. "Do you want to be with me forever?" she asked, her voice echoing strangely, like it was coming from underwater even though she stood before him. "Yes," Ming said without hesitation. "More than anything." May's face brightened. She explained that in 10 days, on the anniversary of when they first met at the village, well, there would be a chance for them to be together. If Ming came to the pool at midnight, dressed as a groom, and walked into the water, their souls could join. They could be together for eternity. Ming promised he would come. For the first time since the accident, he felt hopeful. He watched as May slowly faded back into the water, the glow dimming until the pool was dark again. For 10 days, Ming prepared in secret. He found his wedding clothes, cleaned and repaired them. He told no one of his plan. On the final day, he left a letter for his parents, thanking them for everything. That night, Ming walked to the pool wearing his black wedding robe with golden dragon patterns. The moon was full now, lighting his path. As midnight approached, the pool began to glow again. May rose from the water, more beautiful than ever in her wedding dress. She stretched out her hand, waving for him to come closer. Ming stepped into the water. It felt surprisingly cold against his skin. He kept going, the water rising to his knees, then his waist. May smiled encouragingly, floating just out of reach. But when the water reached his chest, something changed. The water felt suddenly heavy around him, like it was trying to pull him down. A cold feeling spread through his body. He started thinking about sinking into the darkness, water filling his lungs, being stuck underwater forever. every part of him just wanted to get out. Ming backed away, stumbling onto the shore, trying to catch his breath and shaking. He cried, tears streaming down his face. Ming fell to his knees at the water's edge, his wedding clothes getting soaked in the mud. His whole body was shaking. He wanted more than anything to be with May, but the fear took control of him. May floated closer, her face showing both sadness and understanding. Her red dress looked darker now, almost like blood in the moonlight. "The fear passes once you stop fighting," she said softly. "I thought I was stronger," Ming whispered, falling back onto the shore. May's loving expression changed to one of deep disappointment. As she began sinking back into the pool, her voice carried across the water. "Perhaps your love to me is not stronger than your fear." Ming sat by the pool until dawn, sobbing. By morning, he was gone from the village. Some said he wandered into the mountains, looking for another way to free May's spirit. Others said grief finally broke him. But May never left the bride's pool. Over the years, one tragedy after another happened at the pool. Young couples would drown mysteriously while swimming. Hikers would be swept away by sudden floods. Fatal car accidents happened nearby. Even today, when you ask locals about the bride's pool, their eyes get wide and their voices drop to whispers, mixing fear with respect for what lives in those waters.